A grieving father once sat in front of a camera and delivered a statement that Hollywood seemed determined to avoid for years. He looked directly into the lens and openly questioned whether his daughter had been murdered. He repeated that belief for the rest of his life, never backing away from it. Even in death, his stance never changed. Yet the man most closely tied to his daughter, her partner in love, work, and public life, has never publicly addressed the accusation that haunted her father for decades. Then there are the stories surrounding Sean Diddy Combs, tales that celebrities often hint at but rarely explain in full. During one interview, an actor laughed nervously while recalling experiences from Diddy's parties. Mid-sentence, he stopped himself repeatedly, admitting there were stories he simply could not share publicly. What stood out wasn't just the hesitation, but the implication. He claimed to have witnessed events inside one of the most heavily scrutinized celebrity circles in America, yet refused to describe them on record. But the conversation becomes even more layered when tracing the timeline backward. Long before internet speculation linked Diddy to controversy, before whispers about Epstein spread across social media, and before reports surfaced that Mila Kunis had moved into a separate property, there was Demi Moore's memoir in 2019. In that book, Moore described troubling experiences involving one particular man, offering a perspective that many now revisit in light of later events. To understand the fascination surrounding Ashton Kutcher's rise and the scrutiny that followed, it helps to look at how carefully his public image was built. Kutcher came from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, without Hollywood connections or industry privilege. His breakthrough happened almost by accident after being discovered in a bar during the late 1990s. Modeling jobs quickly followed, placing him at the center of major campaigns for brands like Calvin Klein and Abercrombie & Fitch. Before audiences knew his personality, they already recognized his face. Polished, youthful, and marketable. One detail often revisited in discussions about his early career is Abercrombie & Fitch's connection to billionaire Les Wexner, founder of L Brands. Wexner later became infamous for his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, including granting Epstein extraordinary financial authority and access to properties that investigators would eventually examine closely. Critics point out that Kutcher once represented a Wexner-owned brand, though there is no evidence suggesting the actor had involvement in those relationships. Still, observers often mention it as one of several overlapping connections within elite celebrity and business circles. Kutcher's transition from modeling into acting led to That 70s Show in 1998, the sitcom that transformed him into a household name. The series also created relationships that would shape much of his personal and public life. One was Danny Masterson, whom Kutcher frequently described as a close friend and mentor over many years. Another was Mila Kunis, who joined the show at just 14 years old. Years later, Kunis reflected on how intimidating those early days felt. She admitted being nervous and overwhelmed as a young teenager entering a professional set. Kutcher, older and already more established, reassured her during awkward scenes. She also recalled an offhand joke from Masterson involving money and a kissing scene, a moment that today is often revisited as an example of how differently Hollywood environments operated at the time. Taken together, these stories form a broader picture of celebrity culture. Fame built through charm and opportunity, friendships forged under intense public attention, and an entertainment industry where uncomfortable questions sometimes linger for years without clear answers. A casual wager between two adult actors on a television set involved a 14-year-old girl, a moment that, years later, would draw renewed criticism when viewed through a modern lens. Ashton Kutcher later admitted he participated in the joke, and even revisited the story publicly on television while Mila Kunis sat beside him. What stands out today is not just the remark itself, but the atmosphere surrounding it, a room full of adults where the comment was treated as entertainment rather than something inappropriate. The laughter, the silence, and the absence of anyone objecting reveal a great deal about what Hollywood culture often normalized at the time. Not long afterward, while hosting Punk'd, Kutcher made another comment that would later age poorly. Introducing teenage star Hilary Duff, who was only 15, he joked to the audience that she was one of the girls we're all waiting for to turn 18. The line aired publicly, heard by a studio audience and production crew alike, yet no one interrupted or challenged it. In hindsight, moments like these have become examples of how casually young female celebrities were often discussed in early 2000s entertainment culture. By then, Kutcher's fame had exploded. Between That 70s Show, Punk'd, magazine covers, and major film roles, he had become one of Hollywood's most recognizable young stars. Around the same period, actress Brittany Murphy was rising just as quickly. By 2002, Murphy had already become unforgettable through performances in Clueless, Girl, Interrupted, and 8 Mile. She carried a rare screen presence that industry insiders often described as magnetic, the kind of charisma that naturally drew attention without effort. Alongside film work, she also spent years voicing Luann on King of the Hill, further cementing her place in pop culture. Murphy and Kutcher began dating during the filming of Just Married in 2002. To tabloids and entertainment media, they looked like the perfect young Hollywood couple, attractive, successful, and starring in a romantic comedy together. Their relationship quickly became headline material, with red carpets and magazine covers presenting them as one of the industry's newest power pairs. Then the relationship ended almost as quickly as it began. Within months, Kutcher had moved on and was publicly linked to Demi, a major Hollywood icon more than a decade older than him, who later became his wife. Reports from people close to Murphy suggested the breakup hit her hard and left her emotionally shaken. Afterward, Murphy's career appeared to lose momentum in ways many observers struggled to explain. In Hollywood, rumors quietly began circulating that she was difficult, a label frequently attached to actresses once industry support starts fading. Often, such whispers function less as proven accusations and more as justification for studios and producers to distance themselves. Calls slow down, casting opportunities disappear, and once prominent stars gradually fade from the spotlight. The contrast in Murphy's career trajectory became increasingly noticeable. Just a few years after starring in major films like 8 Mile and Just Married, she found herself taking smaller direct-to-DVD roles. By 2008, she had reportedly been removed from a Sylvester Stallone project during production, with public speculation surrounding both her health and behavior. She was only 30 years old. Friends later described Murphy during those years as deeply anxious and isolated. Some said she feared she was being watched or followed, while others believed emotional struggles and stress had consumed her. Because she died so young, many of those concerns were never fully explored or understood. On December 20, 2009, Brittany Murphy collapsed in the bathroom of her Hollywood Hills home after days of illness. According to reports, she had been suffering severe symptoms, including breathing difficulties, but never sought hospital treatment. In early 2010, the Los Angeles coroner ruled her death accidental, citing pneumonia, iron deficiency anemia, and a combination of prescription and over-the-counter medications as contributing factors. No illegal drugs were found in her system. The tragedy became even more unsettling months later when her husband, Simon Monjack, died in the same house under similarly troubling circumstances. His death intensified public speculation and deepened the mystery surrounding the final chapter of Brittany Murphy's life. Simon Monjack's death only deepened the unease surrounding Brittany Murphy's final chapter. Just 5 months after Murphy died, Monjack passed away in the very same house. The official explanation mirrored Brittany's almost exactly: pneumonia, anemia, and accidental causes, all confirmed by the same coroner's office. To many observers, the similarities felt unsettling. To Brittany's father, Angelo Bertolotti, they felt impossible to ignore. Bertolotti spent years publicly rejecting the official conclusions. He argued that too many details failed to add up and repeatedly questioned how two relatively young people could die under nearly identical circumstances within months of each other. Determined to challenge the narrative, he arranged independent laboratory testing on Brittany Murphy's hair samples. In 2013, he claimed those tests revealed unusually high levels of heavy metals, findings he believed pointed towards something far more sinister than illness. Authorities, however, did not accept those results as evidence of foul play. The coroner's office disputed the conclusions, and most mainstream coverage portrayed Bertolotti as a grieving parent unable to come to terms with his daughter's death. No criminal investigation emerged from the claims, no suspects were identified, and no charges were ever filed. Officially, the case remained closed. Yet Bertolotti never changed his position. Until his death in 2019, he continued insisting that Brittany had been murdered. What remains today is an unresolved divide between official findings and a father's unwavering suspicion, alongside the haunting reality that a 32-year-old actress with wealth, healthcare access, and every available resource still died from a respiratory illness inside a luxury Hollywood home. A decade after Brittany Murphy's death, another layer was added to the conversation when Demi released her memoir, Inside Out. The book offered an intimate and deeply personal account of her marriage to Ashton Kutcher, the same man Brittany Murphy had once dated years earlier. Unlike gossip columns or anonymous Hollywood rumors, Moore's story came directly from her own perspective, published under her own name. At the beginning, Moore described the relationship as exciting and emotionally safe. Kutcher made her feel desired and protected during a period when she believed she had found renewed happiness. Their age gap, she was 41, he was 25, drew public attention, but privately she embraced the relationship wholeheartedly. At the time, Moore had maintained nearly 2 decades of sobriety, a milestone that represented years of discipline and personal struggle. According to her memoir, one seemingly casual conversation changed everything. Moore wrote that Kutcher questioned whether alcoholism should even be viewed as a real disease, suggesting moderation might be enough. Wanting to fit the image of the partner he desired, she eventually broke her sobriety. She later reflected on that moment as the beginning of a painful unraveling, describing how years of recovery slowly slipped away because she prioritized preserving the relationship over protecting herself. Moore also recounted a deeply humiliating incident during a trip to Mexico. After drinking heavily, she lost consciousness and woke up sick beside a toilet. Kutcher had taken a photograph of her in that vulnerable condition and treated it like a joke. Looking back, Moore wrote that she eventually recognized the moment not as harmless humor, but as a form of embarrassment she failed to identify while living through it. The memoir becomes even more emotionally devastating when Moore discusses pregnancy loss. At 42, she became pregnant after the couple had been trying for a child. She reached nearly 6 months into the pregnancy before a routine appointment revealed that the baby no longer had a heartbeat. Her writing about the miscarriage is raw and intensely personal, capturing the grief of preparing for a child and suddenly confronting unimaginable loss. From there, Moore describes the marriage growing increasingly unhealthy. She revealed that she agreed to threesomes despite not wanting them, convincing herself that accommodating Kutcher's desires was necessary to keep the relationship intact. In hindsight, she viewed those decisions as evidence of how much she had abandoned her own boundaries and emotional well-being in an effort to become the version of herself she believed her husband wanted. Demi Moore's memoir reaches one of its most painful moments when she describes discovering Ashton Kutcher's infidelity. According to her account, she learned he had been unfaithful during Danny Masterson's bachelor party in San Diego, not through honesty or a private conversation, but from outside information reaching her afterward. When she confronted him, Moore wrote that Kutcher defended himself by arguing that, because they had previously invited other people into their relationship, his actions did not qualify as cheating in the traditional sense. For Moore, that explanation carried a deeper emotional sting. The compromises she believed were helping preserve the marriage had, in her view, been transformed into justification for betrayal. In Inside Out, she portrays a relationship where emotional boundaries slowly eroded until the very sacrifices meant to hold the marriage together became tools used against her. Importantly, these claims were not anonymous gossip or tabloid speculation. They came directly from Moore herself, published openly under her own name. Kutcher has never publicly disputed the memoir's central allegations. Looking backward through that lens inevitably raises questions about the period before Demi Moore entered Kutcher's life, specifically, his relationship with Brittany Murphy. Unlike Moore, Murphy never had the opportunity to tell her own story in a memoir or public reflection. She died at 32, long before she could revisit those years with distance or clarity. Because of that, no one can definitively describe what happened privately inside Murphy and Kutcher's relationship. Still, some observers compare Moore's descriptions of emotional dynamics, blurred boundaries, vulnerability used as leverage, and control disguised as affection, with the timing of Murphy's personal and professional decline after their breakup. While there is no direct evidence connecting Kutcher to Murphy's struggles, the parallels have fueled ongoing public speculation about whether deeper emotional damage may have existed beneath the polished Hollywood image. The discussion surrounding Kutcher extends beyond romantic relationships into the celebrity social scene he occupied throughout the 2000s. During those years, he was frequently photographed attending events hosted by Sean Diddy Combs. Red carpet images and entertainment coverage placed him regularly at Combs's well-known parties in places like the Hamptons, Los Angeles, and New York. Years later, those gatherings took on a far darker public significance. In 2024, Sean Combs faced federal indictment on serious criminal charges, including racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation-related offenses connected to prostitution allegations. By 2025, he had been convicted on certain federal counts and was serving a prison sentence. As investigations and civil lawsuits surrounding Combs expanded, public attention increasingly turned toward celebrities who had once circulated within his social orbit. One moment involving Kutcher resurfaced repeatedly online, an interview where he was casually asked about stories from Diddy's parties. Laughing awkwardly, Kutcher admitted there were multiple stories he couldn't tell, stopping himself several times mid-thought. What made the clip notable was not an accusation or direct confession, but the implication that he had witnessed incidents he preferred not to discuss publicly. Critics later interpreted the exchange differently in light of the allegations surrounding Combs. Kutcher has never been accused in legal filings connected to those cases, nor has he been publicly subpoenaed in relation to Combs. Still, The interview gained renewed scrutiny because it captured a celebrity openly acknowledging uncomfortable memories from environments now under federal examination. Another layer of speculation involves Jeffrey Epstein and billionaire Les Wexner. Kutcher's early modeling career included work for Abercrombie & Fitch, a company owned by Wexner. Wexner's ties to Epstein, including financial arrangements and property connections, are well documented and part of the public record. However, beyond Kutcher's professional association with a Wexner-owned brand, no verified evidence has linked him personally to Epstein's criminal activities. Internet rumors and entertainment gossip have often attempted to draw broader connections, but no federal documents, lawsuits, or official investigations have publicly identified Kutcher as being involved with Epstein in any criminal capacity. Distinguishing documented facts from speculation remains essential when examining stories that combine celebrity culture, public scandal, and unresolved public curiosity. It is important to separate verified facts from internet-driven speculation. Terms like handler have circulated widely in online commentary and tabloid discussions, but no legal investigation or official filing has used that language in connection with Ashton Kutcher. Still, the broader pattern critics focus on has fueled intense public debate and, according to entertainment reports, allegedly created strain within his public image and personal life. Much of that scrutiny comes from the collection of associations surrounding Kutcher over the years. Online observers frequently point to the overlap between several controversial figures connected to his career and social circle. His early modeling work for an Abercrombie & Fitch brand owned by Les Wexner, whose ties to Jeffrey Epstein are part of the public record, his long-standing friendship with Demi Masterson, who was later convicted of rape and sentenced to decades in prison, and his repeated presence at events hosted by Sean Diddy Combs, whose legal troubles and convictions later became national headlines. Critics also revisit older television appearances in which Kutcher made comments about underage celebrities that many now view as inappropriate. Combined with his later interview remarks implying he witnessed things at Diddy's parties he could not publicly discuss, these moments have contributed to a growing online narrative questioning the image Hollywood once promoted. Actor Jim Caviezel has also publicly spoken about what he sees as darker realities inside the entertainment industry. Caviezel has made comments suggesting that some celebrity personas differ dramatically from reality, though his statements remain personal opinions rather than claims backed by legal findings or formal investigations. Nevertheless, in an era shaped by leaked documents, expanding investigations, and renewed scrutiny of powerful public figures, many people view repeated public criticism as a force capable of pressuring institutions to confront uncomfortable questions. What makes the discussion surrounding Kutcher particularly complicated for many observers is the contrast between his public advocacy and the people connected to his private and professional world. Kutcher co-founded Thorn, an organization focused on combating child exploitation and trafficking. Thorn developed technology designed to help law enforcement identify victims and track abusive online activity. It is important to draw a clear line between documented facts and public speculation. No law enforcement agency, prosecutor, or court has accused Ashton Kutcher of criminal involvement in Brittany Murphy's death, Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, or the investigations surrounding Sean Combs. He has never been charged, named as a defendant in related civil cases, or formally implicated by investigators in any of those matters. What continues to fuel discussion, however, is the contrast between Kutcher's carefully cultivated public image and the darker portrait described by people who knew him personally, especially Demi Moore in her memoir Inside Out. Publicly, Kutcher was presented as the relatable small-town success story, a charismatic actor, tech entrepreneur, philanthropist, and advocate for protecting vulnerable children through anti-trafficking work. Privately, Moore described a far more troubled relationship dynamic inside their marriage, one marked by emotional strain, manipulation, addiction struggles, and betrayal. For many observers, the tension between those two versions of the same person is where the real public fascination begins. The issue is not simply whether crimes were committed, because no evidence has established that, but whether the image sold to audiences fully aligned with the reality experienced by those closest to him. That unresolved gap has kept broader questions alive online. Brittany Murphy's father spent years publicly insisting that his daughter's death deserved deeper scrutiny. Kutcher's long history within celebrity circles, now associated with scandals, from Demi Masterson to Sean Combs, has only intensified curiosity. Reports and rumors about distance between Kutcher and Mila Kunis have further added to speculation, though none of those reports confirm wrongdoing or hidden knowledge. Demi Moore's story often becomes central to these conversations because she survived long enough and gained enough perspective to publicly reflect on her experiences. Her memoir was not framed as an exposé in the traditional sense, but many readers interpreted it as a warning about what can exist beneath polished Hollywood narratives. Brittany Murphy, by contrast, never had the opportunity to tell her own story or revisit her experiences publicly. Ultimately, much of the public debate surrounding Ashton Kutcher exists in the space between verified fact and unresolved suspicion. Some people see only coincidence and guilt by association. Others believe the repeated overlap between controversial figures, troubling allegations, and personal accounts points toward a larger pattern within celebrity culture itself. As ongoing investigations into powerful entertainment figures continue to unfold and previously sealed documents periodically become public, internet discussions surrounding Kutcher are unlikely to disappear. Whether any future revelations will meaningfully connect him to those broader scandals remains entirely unknown. For now, the conversation remains driven less by proven accusations and more by unanswered questions, conflicting public images, and the enduring impact of stories told by the people who once stood closest to him.